It was the year 1849 that Elizabeth Blackwell became the first woman to officially practice medicine. Many people may know Elizabeth Blackwell for her achievements, but what about her past? What encouraged her to work with medicine in the first place? Elizabeth Blackwell was born on February 3, 1821, in Bristol, England. She was the third child of 9 children of Samuel Blackwell and Hannah Lane. Elizabeth's father owned a sugar refinery. Both Samuel and Hannah worked as sugar refiner and Quaker, along with being an anti-slavery activist. Sugar refinery is the process of which raw sugar from cane or beets into white refined sugar, and Quakers are people who belong to historically Protestant Christian set of denominations. During Elizabeth's childhood, she was surrounded by discussions of many issues like women's rights, slavery, and child labor. Due to her parents' belief in the importance of education, she was privately tutored. In 1838, Samuel Blackwell died, leaving the family penniless during the national financial crisis. Elizabeth went to school with her sisters Anne and Marianne to help support the family. The academy provided instructions, room, and board. Her journey began when a close friend suggested that she would not be suffering if treated by a woman specialist. From there on, Elizabeth was determined to become a physician. To save up for medical school expenses, she taught music at an academy in Asheville, North Carolina. In 1846, the school closed, leaving Elizabeth no choice but to be employed at a boarding school in Charleston. Elizabeth Blackwell applied to many different schools. Geneva College was the only school to accept. However, people at Geneva College assumed Elizabeth's acceptance letter was a joke, mainly because the college faculty and student body are mostly male. When she arrived at Geneva College, she chose to isolate herself and persisted through mistreatment by students, staff, and patients. Local townspeople shunned her as a bad woman for defying her gender role. Nonetheless, she graduated first in her class on January 23, 1849, becoming the first woman to complete a medical degree in the United States. Elizabeth became a professor of gynecology at London School of Medicine for Women. Elizabeth also founded the National Health Society and published several books. Few male patients were not eager to let her examine them, and not a few of her male colleagues treated her with great animosity. Although, as a result of Elizabeth's achievements, women now make up almost half of the medical students in the United States and a third of physicians. Elizabeth Blackwell was a strong, independent woman. She spent most of her time campaigning for women's rights and establishing institutions dedicated to training female medical students. Dr. Blackwell traveled widely across Europe and became increasingly interested in social reform movements dedicated to women's rights, family planning, hygiene, medical education, and etc. Elizabeth set high standards for admission, academic and clinical training, and certification for women medical college, which continued for 31 years. In 1869, she permanently moved to England and helped organize the National Health Society in 1871. Elizabeth remained as a teacher of gynecology until 1907, when she sustained an injury that forced her to retire. Blackwell had no idea how to become a physician, so she consulted with several physicians known by her family. They told her it was a fine idea, but impossible. It was too expensive, and such education was not available to women. Yet, Blackwell reasoned that if the idea were a good one, there must be some way to do it, and she was attracted by the challenge. She convinced two physician friends to let her read medicine with them for a year and apply to all the medical schools in New York and Philadelphia. 2 years later, in 1849, Elizabeth Blackwell became the first woman to receive an MD degree from an African medical school. She worked in clinics in London and Paris for 2 years until she contracted an illness from a young patient. When Elizabeth lost her sight in one eye, she returned to New York City in 1851, giving up her dream of becoming a surgeon. Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell established a practice in New York City, but had few patients and few opportunities for intellectual exchange with other physicians, and the means of increasing medical knowledge which dispensary practice affords. She applied for a job as a physician at the women's department of a large city dispensary, but was refused. In 1853, with the help of friends, she opened her own dispensary in a single rented room, seeing patients 3 afternoons a week. The dispensary was incorporated in 1854 and moved to a small house she bought on 15th Street. Her sister, Dr. Emily Blackwell, joined her in 1856, and together they opened the New York Infirmary for Women and Children at 64 Bleecker Street in 1857. This institution and its medical college for women opened in 1867, providing training and experience for women doctors and medical care for the poor. As her health declined, Blackwell gave up the practice of medicine in the late 1870s, though she still campaigned for reform.